Hi, welcome to yoga. We're going to do a gentle flow practice. And I listen to a yoga podcast daily. It's a spiritual podcast, and I talk about it a lot in these videos. And it's so beneficial in my yoga practice and to be able to take my practice off of my mats into my daily life. And the last couple podcasts that I've listened to, what has really hit home for me to take into my own personal life is to work through my ego, my arrogance, these things that keep me bound to either my stinking thinking or else my selfishness or things that just keep me kind of stuck. And so when we're on our mats, we begin our yoga by controlling our movements in our body. And then what happens is we kind of realize how that works. We get in the flow of it. We're not so nervous of what things that our bodies can do. And then we start to dig into what our mind is doing. And I invite us to notice when our mind goes into an arrogance on our mats, or else it goes into an ego. And the arrogance can be something of, of not feeling like we can do something, or maybe that we don't want to do something, or maybe just that stinking thinking. And I invite us to, when that happens, to just notice it and breathe and work through it. Because when we do those things on our mat, we take those things subconsciously off of our mats. And that's where our healing really starts, is when we can take these things off of our mat by just being able to work through those by finding our breath. They say that in yoga we start to control three things. We control our body and our movements. We start to control our words to being able to be more loving and kind. And then we can start to control our mind. So even though on our mats we're not saying anything with our words, we're still talking in our heads. And once we're talking in our heads, those are ingrained in us. And so we eventually will say them out loud. So I invite us to just notice where our mind is going and breathe and work through that. Soften ourselves. Be more loving and kind to ourselves. And I invite us to, when we get in that stinking thinking, put in our affirmation of I am loving, I'm kind, I'm peaceful, peace is within, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Whatever it is, I invite us to just feel and notice what our body's doing, and then think those thoughts. Start retraining our brain. That's the beauty of yoga. We start to retrain ourselves, and then we take it off of our mats. So we find what our body and our mind and our thoughts are doing on our mats, and we allow ourselves to work through it by just feeling and noticing, trying to stay in the present moment and bringing those affirmations into our heart. So I invite us to breathe in through our nose and out through our nose, and start to think of an affirmation that's going to work for us today. And these affirmations, they can be different from day to day. And it's just our energy and our bodies change from day to day. So I invite us to just feel and notice what we need today and take care of ourselves today. Let's move our way back to our mats. And if we're doing a journal entry, I invite us to journal about what our affirmation is today, and maybe why that is needed. Like my affirmation lately has been peace is within, because I feel like I try to get peace from either people, places, or things. I try to get peace from things being exactly the way I want them in my life, and that's not just letting go and letting things happen. So I know that the peace really is within my own heart. And so when I can feel and notice that peace in my own heart, and when I can tell myself that there's peace in my own heart, I can start to set my day in the right direction. So let's journal of our affirmation and maybe why that's important to us. And to make our way to our mats. And let's just come to a position where we're sitting on our mats. And let's feel and notice our hips grounded. And let's breathe in through our nose and out through our nose. And let's take our right hand. We're going to ground it onto our mat. We're going to reach over our head with our left hand. And then we're going to inhale, reaching our left hand down to our mats. Exhaling our right hand over. Inhaling, bringing our right hand down. Exhaling our left hand over. And I invite us to do this at our own pace. Just feeling and noticing our body. Feeling and noticing when our mind goes and bringing it back by noticing what our body and our breath are doing or saying our affirmation. We let our stress go by exhaling and softening our bodies. Peace is right within our bodies. All the love that we need today is in our bodies. And we do our yoga practice to reconnect us to our spirit and to the divine. We slow ourselves down and we start to connect. When it feels right, let's bring both hands back down to our mats. Let's pull our heads up towards our ceilings. And let's just feel and notice our heads pulling up. Exhaling by softening our bodies. And let's make our way to all fours on our mat. So we're going to spread our fingers, ground our knees. And let's round our backs up into scared cat. And let's arch our backs down into cow. Inhaling, rounding up. Exhale, rounding down. And we go at our own pace. When it feels right, let's reach out with our right hand, back with our left foot, bringing it together. Inhale, reaching out. Exhaling, bringing it together. And I invite us to just be gentle with ourselves. Our body doesn't have to be perfect. We just feel and notice it. And feel and notice our breath. Good. And let's switch sides. We're going to reach out with our left hand, back with our right foot. And bring it together by Bringing our elbows towards our knees. Reaching out and then bringing it together. And again, I just invite us to just feel what our body's doing. And then just breathe and work through our thoughts. Good. And when it feels right, let's bring all fours back to our mats. We're going to curl our toes under, bringing our hips up to downward dog. And let's feel and notice our feet here. When it feels right, let's bring our hips down towards our mat, reaching our heads up into upward dog. And I invite us to pull our chins up towards our ceiling. Let's move back to downward dog at our own pace. Flowing into upward dog at our own pace. Once we get the control of our bodies, I invite us to start to focus on our breath. Let's do 2 more full cycles. Breathing big breaths. When it feels right, let's ground our knees. We're going to reach up with our upper body and our heads, and let's just feel our knees grounded to our mats. When it feels right, we're going to either slide our hands down the back of our thighs, reaching back with our heads into camel, or if we can, and we stay here, opening our heart center, let's visualize a rope or a string pulling our hearts up towards our ceilings or up towards the sky. And if we can bring our hands down to our ankles. This is camel. We're opening our heart centers, and I invite us to work through our stinking thinking here. And just bring it back to our breath. Visualizing that rope pulling our hearts up. Then let's reach our heads back up. We're going to reach our hips down to our heels. Let's bring our hands down by our sides and bring our heads down to our mats. If it feels better to stack our hands one on top of each other and we rest our head on our hands, we can do that. I invite us to breathe big breaths in through our nose and soften our bodies and let go as we exhale. softening by breathing big breaths out, letting the stress and tension leave our bodies. And when it feels right, let's push ourselves back up onto our knees and heels. We're going to reach our legs out. Let's take our right leg and we're going to cross it over our left. We're going to take our hands and bring them into a prayer position and reach our left elbow over our right knee. Just hold it here. Just feel and notice where our arms want to go. And let's feel and notice our breath. And let's reach our right foot back towards our left. Our left foot's going to come up over. Let's take our hands, put them in prayer position. Bring our right elbow to our left knee and hold it here. Let's bring our left foot back to our right. We're going to ground our hands next to our hips. Let's lift our hips off of our mats, reaching our heads back. And let's again visualize our heart being pulled up. If it doesn't feel right to lift our hips off of our mat, we can just arch back. And I invite us to say with our breath, our affirmations. Let's do it 3 times. Good. Let's bring our backs down to our mats. We're going to reach our legs up and legs up the wall. If we can, let's pull our legs up towards our ceilings. If this doesn't feel right, then we just keep our hips on our mats, reaching our legs up. And let's just breathe. And when it feels right, let's bring our legs down to our mats. Let's find a position where we're laying that feels comfortable for us. As we end our practice in a period of meditation, maybe our arms want to come out to the side. Maybe they want to just lay by our sides. Maybe we want to bring our knees up and let them come out. I invite us to just do what feels right for ourselves. And now I invite us to let our breath be natural by allowing our abdomen to rise and fall. Breathing in through our nose and out through our nose. And invite us to continue to just lay and breathe as I read this meditation. Through spiritual reading, disciplines gain common communion with the divine power on which their hearts are set. As we practice our yoga, we begin to have self-study. This observance is most commonly associated with the expectation that the serious yoga student will develop the practice of reading sacred literature. In my own life, this means that I'm always reading something by one another of the writers I consider my spiritual teachers. This is not to say that I don't treat myself to some trashy fiction or a history book, but I stay close to the words of my teachers as well. In yoga, we can also educate ourselves by spiritual listenings. I listen to things, read things over and over, and I find that their lessons always teach me fresh things. These readings and by my listenings work both to ground my everyday behavior and to give me insight in new spiritual terrain. As in every other aspect of the yogic way of life, there is magic to this process of seeking out, listening and reading to those works that speak true to our nature. The words of our teachers slowly work their way into our consciousness. Often we find that statements or concepts that we couldn't understand before or we had to use for the first time come alive in months or days. This is also magic in ways in which our teachers eventually show their messages. They speak through us. Our thoughts, words, and deeds are informed by what our teachers have taught us. It is a magnificent experience to see the beauty of our teachers' souls become manifest in our own lives, to see the loving hands that have touched us touch others through us. Through spiritual readings and listenings, we gain communion with the divine power on which our hearts are set. As we slowly awaken our bodies, I invite us to roll over to our right or our left side and just feel and notice that. And I invite us to come up to a position where we're sitting. Let's place our hands, palms out, maybe on our knees if that feels comfortable. And like our meditation reading said, we can listen to spiritual things, we can read spiritual things, and over time we start to change. I invite us to say our affirmation in our minds with our breath 3 times. Breathing in through our nose and saying our affirmation. And it feels right. Let's bring our hands together. We can leave them in our laps. We can bring them to our heart center. We can bring them up onto our head. And let's honor ourselves, each other, and our practice. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. Namaste. Thank you for doing yoga practice with me. And I invite us to take what our affirmations with us off of our mats today. Have a great day.